This should have worked, hopefully.
Yep, looks good.
I'm sure. Great. Okay, then let me get started. Oops. So yeah, excited to be here. I'm going to round this out and talk about slightly less specific software things, but more general, just kind of future directions of what's happening in the IIIF ecosystem. My name is Josh Hadro. I'm the managing director of the IIIF Consortium, which supports a lot of these efforts, and we'll come back to that actually at the very end. But yeah, what I'm going to talk about is sort of directionally in terms of development and community work in the IIIF world. So I wanted to talk about two of the really interesting groups that are enhancing the IIIF specification. So the first one is IIIF and 3D, so bringing 3D objects and models into the IIIF ecosystem. And similarly, the work that the MAPS group is doing to just make really awesome use of the data laden in IIIF-enabled maps. I want to briefly talk about work called the IIIF Cookbook that if you're not aware of, you should be. It could be really valuable to you and colleagues in doing usual and typical IIIF use cases. And then I'm going to just round this out just talking about the IIIF Consortium and how it supports this work and work that is coming up in the next few years. But real quick, just to set the stage, I was just thinking about this recently. There was discussion on our Slack channel about the beginnings of IIIF, and it quite literally started on a napkin, a sketch in a restaurant in California in 2011, a Cuban restaurant. And it was basically a conversation among colleagues about how institutions could work together to share medieval manuscripts in 2011. And in the span of just over 10 years, that has quite literally blossomed into this amazing global technology infrastructure. And these are all the places that we know about that are making use of IIIF. And there are dozens, if not hundreds more that we don't know about that aren't on this map. So just thinking about that, 10 years is not that long a time, especially in the context of library and museum infrastructure upgrades. So just kind of amazing how far IIIF has come in terms of images, and now recently adding audio and moving image materials into that. And so that kind of brings us to the cutting edge. So 3D is something folks have been talking about for years. It's been on a radar for years. There has been a community group for a long time gathering use cases and doing the work to kind of bring the community together around 3D use cases. And I'm really happy to announce, if you haven't heard about it already, we have a formal group that launched in January of 2022 to literally integrate 3D models into the IIIF ecosystem and specifications. And I won't go into it here. There are a lot of thorny questions that they will have to solve. You know, it's related to where do you start measuring? You know, is the top left corner, or do you measure from the inside out and then you know, work your way outwards? These are the things that people in this group will solve and bring into the IIIF specs. But again, as I mentioned, the use cases. Just like all of the IIIF work, this is very much rooted in solving practical applications, just like what's being discussed here in this webinar. So very much rooted in that design principle of making the easy cases easy to do and making the hard cases at least possible to do. And specifically what they're going to get into is, you know, is what makes sense is bringing a third physical access into the IIIF Canvas model, excuse me. But of course, critically making sure that that works with existing 2D media and audio and visual materials and everything that is already in there. So making it backward compatible and also making it work with annotations and the other things that IIIF is known for making work in an interoperable way. So real quick, this is still the beginning days of the IIIF 3D work, but I wanted to show this example which is called the Infinite Canvas from a developer named Ed Silverton. And it is just a proof of showing how you can bring in 2D IIIF materials from different institutions and then integrate that into the same space with the Google Model Viewer, which is where that astronaut comes from. And then this is an AV example.
Getting back up to that first step.
So just showing that AV and 3D and 2D materials can be integrated. This isn't the problem solved yet, but it is a really exciting prototype of what that group will be working on. So the other piece I want to talk about in terms of technical work is the work that the MAPS group is doing. So there's a MAPS group, just like the 3D group, that their goal is really about unlocking the potential that is available in digitized maps. And one of the first things they did is they published what's called the NavPlace extension in October of 2021. And that really just allows you to have a IIIF object and associate a geographic coordinate. And that sounds straightforward, but what that does is that now allows all sorts of capabilities in terms of geotagging photographs and doing crowdsourced geotagging, things like that. This is an example of that, just being able to have a map interface and then to bring in IIIF assets really easily and cleanly into that map interface. So dots on a map, and then showing, this is just an example. Glenn Robson, the IIIF technical coordinator, took this photo in Aberystwyth and showing that IIIF manifest showing that image has that geographic coordinate baked into it and showing the utility there. But they're also now, the next steps they're working on is what's called georeferencing, which is just kind of a next step of exciting. And that allows you to align a historical map with underlying map layers of the Earth. So Google Maps, OpenStreetMaps, there's a lot of possibility there as well. So this demo is from a tool called All Maps by a developer named Bert Span, who is one of the chairs of the Maps group. And this shows you can take any IIIF image. This example comes from the National Library of Scotland. It's a map from 1899 showing just a small section of area just east of London and showing you the overlaid, very connected point by point to the underlying map, but showing you the comparison between 1899 and the current physical layout underlying the map. And so you can have these map tiles, you can switch to the satellite image view, and just a lot of potential there for peeling back layers in maps and overlaying multiple maps on top of each other to kind of see how landscape and human development have evolved over time. Okay, and so I also want to mention the cookbook. So if you haven't seen it, this we call it Cookbook of IIIF Recipes, and essentially it is documentation of the best practices out there, and it's written by the community. It's shepherded by Glenn Robson and the IIIF Consortium staff, but it is very much a product of the people who make IIIF work and who are implementing it out there in the community. So it starts from the most basic recipes and builds and scaffolds into much more complex use cases. And they're all structured in the same way, in a way to be the most useful as possible. So they always have a descriptive narrative of the use case and what is being solved, implementation notes. And then there's always a working example in each one of these cookbook recipes and a live working manifest, so that can be copied directly and then restructured or slightly tweaked for local institutional use cases. And we've seen this really benefit a lot of folks, whether it's in our training exercises, all the way up to institutional deployment of these exact use cases. And one last piece to mention related to the cookbook is just downstream things that it unlocks, like this viewer support matrix. So we're now able to show how the major viewers, right now it's just covering Mirador and the Universal Viewer, but this can be extended. This is automatically updated. So when new recipes get published, there's kind of this at a glance view of which viewers support which elements of the IIIF specifications, so that folks can kind of make informed decisions about which implementation they might want to make use of. And in my last minute here, I just kind of want to round this out and talking about the IIIF Consortium, which which our whole purpose there is to support the work that is happening in projects like this, Practical Applications, and the community work developing the specifications. The consortium was created a few years after the beginnings of the technology. So in June 2015, a number of institutions came together, and there are now 63 institutions that quite literally financially support the work in the community and 3 explicit staff roles who are full-time devoted to supporting things like governance and oversight, as well as shepherding software projects and advising on grant projects. So you see elements like that. We have 14 community groups. I talked about 2 with the IIIF and the MAPS group, with the 3D and the MAPS group, but there are 12 others doing work every couple of weeks or every month in their meetings. We bring together folks from around the world at conferences, supporting grant projects. We publish open training materials and do live trainings for cohorts roughly once a month. We're also able to bring, because of this consortium support, able to bring folks to our conferences and to our events throughout the year. And so I just want to return to this map and say, you know, the technology in many ways speaks for itself, but it's also very much because of the support of the consortium institutions that we were able to really help this technology spread around the world. So this is the map I showed earlier, but the dots here in blue and red are the consortium members, the ones that actually are contributing every year to spread the adoption and to make this ecosystem as sustainable as possible for the long term. So these are the folks who are making it possible to grow for another 10 years into 2030 and beyond. So I'll leave it there with just this call in case your institution has found the value in IIIF. Do get in touch. We'd love to talk about the various benefits and ways to join the consortium at different levels. But I really just want to say thank you to the folks on this webinar. Thank you to the consortium members who've made this possible, and all the project work that's gone into this and continues to grow this ecosystem and make IIIF useful around the world. But I'll end it there, and maybe we go into the Q&A. Thanks, everyone.